The wire cutters glinted in the fading sunlight, their sharp edges slicing through my ranch's barbed wire fence with a sickening snap. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, stood triumphant, her lips curled into a smug grin. She'd been hounding me for weeks, claiming my fence was an eyesore that violated her precious neighborhood aesthetic. I watched from my porch, heart pounding, as she hacked away, oblivious to the distant rumble growing louder behind her. She thought she was winning. She had no idea what was coming. I tried reasoning with her. My ranch, a sprawling 50 acres of rolling hills and grazing cattle, had stood long before her gated community sprouted up next door. The fence wasn't just a boundary. It kept my livestock safe, especially Brutus, my 2,000-pound Brahman bull with a temper as wide as the horizon. Karen didn't care. She'd sent letters, left voicemails, even rallied neighbors to complain about my rustic property. When I refused to tear down the fence, she took matters into her own hands. I could still hear her shrill voice from our last meeting. "This is about standards, Mr. Hayes. You're lowering our property values." Standards. As if she understood the land, the sweat, the life I'd poured into this place. The truth unraveled faster than her wire cutters could snip. As Karen sliced the final strand, the ground shook. Brutus, grazing in the far pasture, had caught the scent of freedom. His massive frame thundered toward the gap, hooves tearing up the earth, horns lowered like a freight train with a grudge. Karen froze, her eyes widening as she turned to see the beast charging. I shouted, waving my arms, trying to redirect Brutus, but the bull had locked onto the breach and Karen was in his path. She dropped the cutters and stumbled back, her pristine white sneakers sinking into the mud. For the first time, her arrogance cracked, replaced by raw panic. Enter Miguel, my quiet ranch hand who rarely spoke but always watched. He'd been repairing a gate nearby, unnoticed by Karen in her frenzy. Without a word, he sprinted toward her, lasso in hand, his weathered boots kicking up dust. In a blur of motion, he looped the rope around Brutus's horns, yanking the bull off course just as Karen scrambled behind a tree. The bull snorted, tossing his head, but Miguel held firm, muscles straining, guiding the beast back toward the pasture. Karen's scream echoed, a mix of terror and humiliation, as neighbors peeked over their manicured hedges, phones out, recording her downfall. Miguel, the unsung hero, didn't even glance her way. He just tipped his hat to me and went back to work. The confrontation exploded at the next HOA meeting. Karen, bruised but unbowed, stormed in, demanding I be fined for endangering the community. The room buzzed with tension as neighbors replayed the viral video of her fence-cutting fiasco, now dubbed Karen versus the Bull online. I stood, calm but firm, and laid out the facts. The fence was legal on my property, and Karen's actions had nearly cost her life and mine. If Brutus had escaped onto the highway. The HOA president, a meek man named Gerald, shifted uncomfortably as I produced the deed, survey maps, and a vet's report on Brutus's temperament. Karen's face reddened, her arguments crumbling as the room turned against her. "You can't do this," she shrieked, but the neighbors, fed up with her tyranny, voted to remove her from the HOA board. Her reign was over. Karen's fall was as swift as it was brutal. The video spread, amassing millions of views, with comments tearing into her entitlement. Local news picked up the story, painting her as the poster child for HOA overreach. She stopped showing her face at meetings, her once pristine lawn now overgrown, her mailbox stuffed with complaints from the very neighbors she'd bullied. I heard she moved away, chasing a new neighborhood to control, but the damage was done. Her name became a cautionary tale, whispered with smirks at community barbecues. Standing on my porch weeks later, I watched the sunset paint the hills gold, my new fence gleaming stronger than before. Miguel hammered the last post, giving me a nod that said more than words ever could. This land, this life fight was worth fighting for. Karen thought she could bend the world to her will, but nature and truth have a way of pushing back. We all face our own fences, our own bulls charging through. The question is whether we learn to respect them or get trampled trying to control what isn't ours. What do you think, was Karen's punishment fair? Or did she deserve worse? Share your thoughts. I'm curious to hear.